Hello, teachers. Some of you may know me already. Been part of the group for a few days actually, but the group was created a long time ago, and I participated in a few discussions, as some of you may remember, before the pandemic. But I'm here to talk about more or less the state of working remotely, especially being an English teacher, and uh, focusing on what we can do as teachers who try to create our own materials, and how to present it, and how to market it. But it's not a thing about how to do marketing via Facebook, via social media. It's more or less a discussion of why the problem is exactly there. I'm graduated in the University of São Paulo, Letras, that course that Facebook doesn't know how to translate because it's languages and literature. If you search for it, you want to put this on your Facebook bio or your the description of your profile, you're not going to find the course Letras. I studied, like many of you, topics of semiotics, morphology, syntax, you know, discourse, which was my focus and research. And then I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because it's not the point, but I went from an interest that I had with in phonology to analyzing aspects of the web. And I discovered that there was an academic area called cyberspace, which is a word that today means nothing. Cyberspace, it's even a little bit cringy, but cyberspace. And people like Pierre Levy, Sherry Turkle, which today is a person who is a little bit more not invisible because some of the people that we study when we're in college, we're just gonna read the books and we're not gonna see a lot of presentations or documentaries or whatever kind of video content uh, that that is popular today. We're not going to see them talking. I could talk about a guy who was mandatory reading when I was in university, which was a guy from Britain named Norman Fairclough. He has a book that I think everybody should read, which is called Discourse and Social Change, which basically tells you how to analyze the text and how to read more intelligently, but also it's more of a book for people who are interested in studying language with more, uh, more of a microscope and prepare future academics, future teachers, but also people who have a knowledge of media discourse. It's very interesting, and I took that and I tried to apply some philosophy. Zygmunt Bauman, just a Polish philosopher. Some people would probably know that he wrote a book called Liquid Modernity, and it talks a little bit. It used to be very current, very an updated perspective on. He was a senior, but the things that he was saying were so true that the college professors recommended that, but that was 10 years ago. So take us to the Zoom meeting. Kind of difficult, right? So I know a lot of people are more or less in the same situation. Millennials and Gen Xers, Gen Z. Uh, uh, this is a complicated discussion, and recently, I could I'm not going to mention any names, but recently I saw the perfect model of the English class that I never wanted to to do, which was basically the clown figure. Please don't be offended, but basically the clown figure who's always supposed to be very energetic and move your hands because that's very important, and pay attention to your intonation and stuff like that, right? I mean, I never uh, related to that style of teaching, and I was more like, let's little detail. I had 4 years of experience at Wise Up, so part of my mind is linked with that kind of back in the day when they didn't have Wise Up Online and stuff like that. But part of my brain is linked with a certain approach of things, which was, well, you want to talk about where you're from, but you want to look at a conversation where two people meet and they ask where you're from, etc. But you're not going to study this in isolation. And you can say, well, but nobody does this really. Have you looked at the materials? I think you're not updated enough. Well, a lot of people do on Instagram. A lot of people do. And here's what I think about this whole thing. I was gonna do a master's project, which was since I was studying the web, I wanted to study. Actually, my thing was I wanted to focus on humor, and maybe many of you will think this is interesting. This was in the time where Porta dos Fundos was, at the peak of audiences in Brazil. But I wanted to take that and do a little bit of use some of the materials that I took from, analyzing the web in general, uh, and take that to education. And what I noticed when I was struggling to get to stay in a few jobs, and this sounds a little bit like a job interview, but anyways, uh, if that happens, cool. But uh, I was more or less struggling to stick in a school because one of them, you arrived at the school and they gave you a class plan that you were supposed to plan in literally 5 minutes. It was all in your head. And the people who were there were not prepared enough clearly because in meetings they would, talk in English like I am right now, and they would commit a bunch of mistakes and show that they were not really aware of what the materials asked you to do and what you were supposed to adapt and etc etc. You've always, I'm sure all of you have had colleagues that were not experienced enough, but that's one thing. It's another when you have a person who stays for a very, very, very long time, and you know the person that's just, uh, could be a better professional, and that's a whole different discussion. But who am I as a professional? Uh, you can look at my material at English 101 BR. I am not sure if I pronounced this clearly enough. It's English 101, like individual kind of conversation. 101 BR. It's a very pretentious title. There's a guy that took the name and registered the domain, so I'm fucked basically. But like, uh, because I'll never have this domain. But anyways, it costs money. So the things that I did, I put everything for free, consultation. I have a whole course prepared with a lot of complementary material that's not on the site. But if you want to check it out, there's a list of 12 topics that you're going to cover, and you can maybe explore some of these if you're looking for materials that are updated for our perspective of, what happened after digital natives, how we use technology, our relationship with technology, especially, and the problem of digital exclusion, trying always to make the person who is learning English develop a perception that we are here in Brazil. There are many people who are trying to speak English to participate in an international context, but not necessarily are you going to solve any problems of your country, of the person who you're speaking to, and not necessarily do you want to solve any problems, because most of us just want to have an interaction. And that's why I call the course participatory fluency. I don't want to make you fluent in 24 hours. I'm not promising that, and I think that was part of the reason why I almost deleted my Facebook after I left the group. I presented an idea of participation that was ignoring mistakes, an idea of fluency, ignoring all contexts of media, and if you know the CFR, you know what I'm talking about. So people who don't understand songs or search for lyrics or anything like that, who can't interpret the meaning of a song, who can't watch a movie without subtitles, who can't reproduce language even when it's easy, and who maybe can relate to a meme in English, but that's it. A meme of a dog. Knock knock. Who's there? Bark bark. Funny, right? But that's the level. I mean, that's not fluency. And just in case you didn't see it, I don't know if I saw this in the group, but um, two dogs sitting on the couch, and I'm sad. Want to hear a joke? I'm sad. Tell me a joke. And the dog says, knock knock, and then the two dogs start barking. Anyways, that's it's funny, but where would you apply something like that? Right? Any class actually, just to break the ice. But participation. If you don't have contact with these things, the teacher has to be there all the time to say, look, if you're not interested in this, there's that, but you're not. Nobody is preparing teachers to have a encyclopedia long list of complementary material to just send to people. So basically, you got to be you. You got to be yourself. The thing is, culture clash, right? Culture clash. We are Brazilians. Many of you have tried interacting with people from different countries, and each country has a specific thing that you might remember, in your attempt to interact with these people. And the point is, well, let's try to accept some of these things, but at the same time, let's try to have a realistic approach to how we are treated, because Brazilians are not very welcome in some uh, online interactions. And I'm not even gonna mention, start a political discourse about kids in cages here, but like, um, the reality is that maybe I have a video saved on my drive, which is starts like this. Studies have shown, and of course it's humor, but that's the thing. People are not going to see it as humor. Studies have shown. This is how I start the video. Studies have shown that that when a Brazilian is speaking English, nobody pays attention. If you want to change that, click the link on the bio. And I thought about releasing that, but here's my point. You need Facebook. Facebook is a company that made $87 billion during the pandemic. Whether you think this is right or wrong, Amazon, same thing. But I mean, a lot of people depend on the platform to reach out to people. Reach out to people. Okay, sure, you can search for a hashtag and find a lot of people with common interests. Cool, but are you doing that? You do this very often. Do you foster your relationships? Set the term, not the best speaker. But do you care for foster is a different thing. Do you foster a relationship? Correct me if I'm wrong here. There's a term that says foster a relationship. Foster a relationship is to kind of do a uh, some kind of care, but some kind of introductory thing, right? Foster a relationship. So I'm gonna have to go to a dictionary to confirm that. But anyways, what I wanted to say was to build on relationships that you start, and the relationships that you start are gonna be WYD. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, what's up? SUP. We start like that because we want to be cool. And then when we start talking about things that are more serious, people are suddenly creeped out. What is this foreigner saying to me? He doesn't know my context, but he has an opinion on the fact that I use Snapchat so much. Are we talking about Gen Xers? Probably. We're talking about Gen Zers? Absolutely not, because then you're going to have to illustrate your whole point with TikTok. But to teach adults, we need to have conversations about the development of media. And if we don't, we are failing. That's the message. At the same time, as teachers, I'm talking about this because most of them are parents. And if they are not, they work for companies that see international communication in a light that goes more or less like this. Surveillance capitalism exists, and everything you do online is being watched. And if you don't make really smart decisions, you're not going to be a good employee. I'm against that. And I think the conversation should be about the themes that we want to discuss that created problems in society. For example, the whole image representation of yourself, selling you as the products, becoming the products. There's a lot of things, a lot of people you can read about this. Professor Scott Galloway more or less thinks like this. He is a guy who has a podcast named Pivot, who I recently recommended here, that talks about the developments, the latest developments in technology. I'm not going to talk about like a multi-laser, a company from Brazil uh, signed up for an IPO. Some of you people don't even know what an IPO is, but it doesn't really matter. And the things I want to talk about with adults are things that, one, have to do with the evolution of media, two, have to do with the usage of media, because who says that because you're an adult, you're going to sit reading news all day and comment on Twitter because Twitter has been elected the platform for social discussions? You gotta post memes. My dad sent me a video that was like this. It was a guy who said, Steven Seagal, picture of Steven Seagal, uh, Stevie Wonder, picture of Stevie Wonder, then a picture of Lula, Stevie preso. That's it. That's it. What are we talking about? Humor. So like, uh, my dad is 58 years old. Okay. So, I mean, I know that there's some political affiliation in the group, and maybe after they see me talking about this, they're not going to allow the video. Well, too bad, because we're missing a lot of interesting discussion. But I want to talk about the fact that we are dependent on Facebook. We are dependent on Facebook because that's the way that we offer our knowledge as a product. So is the solution having a smart approach to the marketing campaign on Facebook? Are we talking about Facebook? Are we talking about Instagram? Obviously Instagram, correct? Correct. But now there's TikTok. And we haven't even started to explore possibilities in live interactions. Well, we have. What are we talk? What am I talking about? We are working with Zoom, right? What do you mean we are not exploring possibilities of live conversations? We are. That's exactly what we're doing. But are we? What are these possibilities? I'm not here to talk about how to give a Zoom class. My approach is one-on-one, so it's easier, I think. Congratulations to you if you have 30 people in a Zoom call and you have to direct the conversation, or you choose to do a freaking monologue. But a lot of people have their own materials. Uh, a lot of people is going to be like 50 people who you've seen because of Instagram. That's a lot of people. I think that's a lot of people. uh, when you start seeing the same or more of the same, it's kind of a, you know, yeah, okay, this guy has a little bit more followers. This girl has a different approach here. She has some triggers, some sections of her speech. The 1 minute thing is a thing that she does well, or he. There is there are a few other videos available where you can really see the quality of the material, and there's a lot of stuff for free. Okay, a lot of stuff for free. Is this helping you? If it's not, freaking stop doing it. Your work shouldn't be free. Who's telling you this? A guy graduated in the University of São Paulo, was going to do a master's, was approved for the master's, and as I introduced myself in the group last time that I joined, there was an error of communication between the uh, communications department of the Modern Languages Department in the University of São Paulo, who created two lists for the approved candidates and put me in the approved list in the first official list, and then sent an email with a few numbers saying these candidates were not approved. And then I was not approved, and then came 2020. That's my story. If you think I'm supposed to be like, no, we know you, man. We see the background of your video. I've seen you online, buddy. What are you talking about? You're like famous. Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And second, well, I do have a lot of history with the internet. My history is basically, I try to be friends with some people. Sometimes I had romantic relationships. Happens. Not the way you want most of the time, and that's where I'm at. I'm trying to come back to my context in Brazil and see, well, look at that history of failed relationships. I'm not only talking about the romantic relationships. I met people in music. There's people following me. There's important people in music following me on Twitter. Did I ever get something because of that? Absolutely not. There's important people from different areas following me. Uh, Thank you, the Brazilian TESOL Association, as well as the official TESOL Association, for following me on Twitter. But did I ever get any real opportunity because of that? I don't think so. Maybe I got an incentive to do my own thing. And if you're listening, if you've been listening as far as now, thank you very much. But where do we go from here? We're dependent on Facebook. We want to produce our own materials, but there's already people making as PewDiePie used to put it, big bucks with the marketing thing. So we either find a team or we try to do something absolutely fucking revolutionary. What is that going to be? Is the question that I ask you. Take a look at the materials that I have available and see what you have to discuss. What would you add? I know a lot of people, because it's been a while, and I know a lot of people would say, okay, these themes are interesting, but what about how to run a meeting? Give a class about that. How to run a meeting. What about how to ask for a promotion at work? What about how to do research on the web? What about how to assess if media is credible? And you're gonna just themes are gonna pop up and pop up and pop up. And this is the good news. We are going to be addressing these things. We're going to be creating materials about these things. The bad news is we're going to be competing to see who creates the best material. But there's going to be jobs for everybody. And maybe my job today is to say to you that I've created my own material. I didn't have marketing experience and I got absolutely screwed up. But I'm still here. I have one student, one other student who is preparing to do a course with me, a third student who lives in Germany, who is a music major in the University of São Paulo, the most insanely talented person that I've ever met in my life. And he's a percussionist, I'm a drummer, just an amateur. He's like a insanely, you know, able to play any kind of thing that you can imagine. He plays a marimba. It's a crazy thing. It's gonna be my third student, and if everything goes well, I'm gonna have one student per month. How much am I gonna make? Everybody wants to hear about that, right? How much am I gonna make? I'm charging $20 an hour because I'm testing the course. I think $50 is fair enough, but a lot of people are gonna look at this video and say, "Really, this guy's charging $50? Oh my god!" And I'm not bragging or anything. I'm just saying it this because it's a perception of people who have a certain way of talking and exposing ideas. If your ideas are big, you're gonna have one kind of approach. If your expertise shows you that different kind of posture is what you believe in, then your whole discourse is going to change. But with my expertise, I think that I don't know what's happening in public schools. I don't know what's happening in private schools a little bit, but I know they're changing materials. I know a little bit because 12 years of experience, almost 13. But I've been to many places and I didn't exactly follow everything that happened in these companies. I've been to many companies, working with many companies, but public schools. Not that I didn't try. When I was studying for my master's, I reached out to the two schools. One is a state school, the other is a city school. Excuse me. I wanted to conduct a social media usage questionnaire. And one of the questions was, have you ever talked to anybody from a different country? Just how often do you talk to people you don't know on the internet? I wanted to conduct this questionnaire with a lot of questions. Are just two examples with a lot of questions, and send it to the schools of my city, all of the schools of my city. It never answered. They got the questionnaire, never answered. So, I mean, recently I saw psychologytoday.com posted a thing about ghosting. If you're interested, read about that. They also talk about different categories of ghosting. like the submarine, the person who appears when it's convenient, disappears, then appears again, pretends that they're worried, then disappears, then appears again. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I love you. Disappears, appears again. Submarine. But anyways, um, the English teachers are not gonna be these kind of submarines. They're always there. They're always working. They're always building knowledge. But are they watching BBC, CNN, Bloomberg? These are the three international TV channels that I had. For a small period of time, I had Fox, but they took it out, thank God, because it's annoying as hell. But CNN, BBC, and Bloomberg gave me a lot of uh, expanded thinking. And I advise you and invite you to spend a little bit less time on Netflix and watching the TV shows, especially CNN, even if you don't like it. See how they talk and consider that for their audience and try to compare with our context. It's a very interesting exercise. Anyways, what are we going to do about Zoom? I don't know. Schools are coming back with hybrid formats. What are we going to do about Facebook marketing? I don't know. Each of you has uh, different approaches. What are we going to do about the future materials? I don't know. Each of you has different topics to raise. And if you come to the group asking for material about a specific topic, you can find media. Vox, Recode, Washington Post, even Cracked, and Wired, and I don't know, things related to education like Edutopia, or I don't know, things like the thing I mentioned today, Psychology Today. It's an interesting source of information. And different things like some viral YouTube videos, some viral tweets, uh, influencers of all sorts, and podcasts and stuff like that. It varies. It varies. Nobody sat down to say, this is the new material for public schools in Brazil, and then gave a list of famous YouTubers. Nobody did that. But Wise Up, for example, created new material talking about Jennifer Lawrence with a picture of the actress on the book. See? Private versus public. Anyways, start of a conversation. What are your thoughts? My name is Ivo. Uh, I work by myself with a project called English 101 BR. The content is available online. You're not going to find teacher guides, but if you have any comments or questions, you can reach me up. If I sound rude, making 20 bucks, man. That's why I'm not being rude. I want to get to know most of you and have a decent conversation. Thanks for listening. And for now, that's it. Okay. Take care. Be smart. Do your best.